So we'll start off with the stats that we always put out there. Dave Campbell's Texas Football splits up the state into 21 different regions. In our Brazos Valley region is what we call it. We put 24 different teams in there. Now, these are UIL teams. I did not count private school, and that's something that she brought it up too with having the TAPS teams down there. Bryan College Station has some quite a few, like 2 or 3 really, really good private school teams. So for this purposes, we are only doing UIL teams. That is UIL 11-man and then the 2 6-man classifications in 1A. Of those 24 total teams, 9 teams are ranked. Here we go, making ourselves look like dummies from week 1 again, when we literally said that Austin's like 24%. We were like, there's no way anybody's going to beat that. How about a whopping 37.5% of the UIL teams in the BCS Brazos Valley region? 24 total teams Dave Campbell's puts in there. 9 teams are ranked. That's 37.5% of teams are in the preseason Dave Campbell's Texas Football top 25 rankings. Which teams are those? How about we find out together? We will start off with 5A Division 1. They do have a 6A team. They are not ranked. 5A Division 1 is the largest classification with ranked teams, and they happen to be district bunkmates. The number 4 team is College Station. Again, as Nicole had mentioned, they made it to the state championship game last year and lost on what ended up being an incredibly controversial call from a fan perspective. We're not going to give our opinion on that, but Katie Pato ended up taking them down in the 5A Division 1 state championship. It was an unbelievable game, but they are back and loaded again. Then their district bunkmate, number 7 A&M Consolidated. So we will talk a lot more about that region in a bit because that is a juicy.
Yeah, those two teams haven't played each other since 2017. And so that later district game matchup between those two, it's going to be a freaking dogfight.
Oh, yeah. We are pumped for that one. And then how about we go to the reigning 3A Division 1 state champ. Nope, scratch that. 3A Division 2 state champs. They have now moved up a classification into 3A Division 1, and that is the number 2 Franklin Lions. Moving on now, we will skip down to 2A Division 1, the number 6th ranked team in Centerville. Then you go down to number 21, and that is Hearn. 2A Division 2, we go number 5, Burton. We will talk about them in just a bit. And number 13, Bremond. Moving now down to the smallest UIL classification in 6-man balls. We've got a pair of 1A Division 2 teams in the number 13th ranked Oakwood, and number 16 is Calvert. So there you go. There are the 9 teams that we have ranked in the DCTF preseason rankings out of the Brazos Valley. So a ton of excitement there for those teams. And what's crazy about it is those teams aren't just ranked. Those are teams that legitimately have a very good shot in College Station and A&M Consolidated in Franklin to end up at AT&T Stadium late in December. So we'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute, but we're going to go over there to our Cruton player expert of vibes, Mallory Hartley. I'm determined to work vibes in here.
Did I kill the vibe earlier when I said I didn't like milk from you? Did I kill that vibe?
You have an option to redeem yourself right here.
All right.
So let's roll.
Let's roll. All right. Let's take a look at a couple of the players to watch in the Brazos Valley region. We'll put up the graphic here. Starting with, like I said earlier, probably the best running back in Class 5A, I'd say. College Station running back Marquis Collins. His junior season, rushed for almost 3,000 yards and had 42 touchdowns. And I think he really started to get some attention when College Station entered the playoffs, because he got a couple more touches on the ball and stuff like that. So I think, too, now I'm going to bring my favorite team into this a little bit, but he reminds me.
Oh, gosh.
If you guys are fans of college football, he reminds me a lot about Michigan State's former running back Kenneth Walker. He's got a little bit more of a smaller build. He's about 6'10". 5'10".
Smaller build.
Sorry about
6'10".
that. Sorry about that. He's like 5'10", pushing 200 pounds a little bit. But man, this dude is a complete tank. I was watching a little bit of his film, and he can create something out of literally nothing. When you see that whole kind of collapse in the offensive line, he can make his way through that line, and that's exactly what Kenneth Walker did at Michigan State. And he's also fast. He runs an 11,500-meter dash, too. So this dude is seriously the real deal, and definitely need to keep your eye on him.
He is, and you're exactly right. He exploded in the playoffs last year. We had heard a little bit of rumblings coming out about week 5 of the season, and then it just progressively got better and better. But something happened when it was a do or die in the playoffs, and this kid just went off. I was lucky enough to see their game in the, I want to say, area round against Frisco Lone Star, and that was one of those where most people assume that Lone Star was going to get their bag on that one like they typically do, and Marquis Collins came out like a bat out of hell. The thing that I love the most about him, you mentioned he's very fast. He's also very sturdy. He's well built, even though he's a little bit on the shorter side. His pocket presence, like when he gets right there behind the line, the patience that he shows is exceptional because he is explosive and he can break through those gaps when he needs to, but the patience that he shows in keeping his head up and waiting for those gaps to open, that's when he could just blow through people. And I think that everyone got to see that in the state championship game, even though they lost. I mean, he had himself a game. But yeah, if you were lucky enough to see him play in person throughout the playoffs last year, I mean, you were witnessing Texas high school football greatness.
And as of right now, he is committed to Duke, but wouldn't be surprised if he picked up a couple more offers this coming year.
Yeah.
Moving on to Brenham linebacker Ricky Brown. When you watch this film, you can clearly see that no matter the situation, he never, ever, ever takes his eye off the ball. I think the game, too, will probably fall into his hands a lot, considering that Burnham only returns 2 players on defense. So it's going to come down to him watching the ball a lot more this coming season. And the team, they have failed to advance out of the first round of the playoffs in these past couple years. So yeah, it's going to be up to this dude on defense to keep the other team from getting points up on that board.
Oh, yeah, a team leader, too. I mean, he's our 5A Division II defensive player, preseason player of the district, and then 74 tackles last year, 5 sacks. He's got good frame to him. I would be dumbfounded to say that there's a better defensive player in the College Station area than what you can find in Ricky Brown, and I think that you're exactly right. The first part of the season is going to be him needing to coach up the young guys on that defense, but if he can really kind of get them up to speed in a pretty quick manner, then I think that Brenham has a good chance to not be, like you said, their goal obviously is going to be to at least get past that first round of the playoffs, but there will be a little bit of a learning curve at first. I think if they start off a little rocky, not to expect that to be going throughout the rest of the season. But I think Ricky Brown is an impressive linebacker down there.
Moving down to 3A, Franklin running back Bryson Washington. You've probably heard his name before. He was a star in the 3A Division II state championship. I almost said Division I state championship, but this dude is seriously a beast. I think him and Malcolm Murphy were probably Franklin's whole offense last season, and now Bryson Washington is returning. Malcolm Murphy is not. So it'll probably be the Bryson Washington show for a while. But we'll get more into this later. But if you're a Franklin fan, you're really glad that he's coming back. Dude's committed to Baylor. He decommitted from SMU a couple of months earlier, but just committed to Baylor, and he's a total beast.
Yeah, that's a really good pickup from Baylor right there. A preseason All-State guy, and one, like you said, Malcolm Murphy was kind of the highlight going into last season, and we even were able to see their state semifinal game against Wascom, and that was the game that Bryson Washington turned on the Jets, and they literally never stop. I was like, that was one of those games that you look at that kid and go, he's going to sleep well tonight because he probably just ran like 4,000 miles, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, he is a bona fide stud. I've been able to, when we went down and did the facility tour for Bryson Washington, or for Franklin, he was on the bike and I'm like, man, you're a big kid. Like I think he's got good frame to add muscle to, and I think that's the upside for him is he's a little bit taller and skinnier for a running back, but that just means that there's good frame to add more muscle onto. So that Bryson Washington is special.
Yes, definitely. Moving on to Centerville defensive lineman. I'm going to butcher this.
Xantal, I think is how you say it.
Holly. Okay, gotcha. He was the 2A Division I District 11 defensive MVP last season. And what makes this kid so special is his size. Now, remember, this is the 2A classification. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds, which may seem small, but you got to remember, 2A, when you have that kind of size on the line, especially on the edge, he's an edge rusher, you're going to be set up for success.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is he's big, but he's also able to move his feet, and that's exactly what you need. So that is a dangerous combination when you get to the 2A level, but yeah, sheer size alone, I mean, he's bullying kids out there.
Yeah. You can have the rest of the line under 5'9" and be just fine. He's got to do that size at the 2A level. Absolutely. Last up, going down to 6-man, Calvert wide receiver, Kavandre Corona. And yeah, we have him listed as a wide receiver, but this dude plays everything. He's played a couple snaps at quarterback. He's also played cornerback. He's quick. He's a big threat every time he touches the ball. And you know what? He kind of reminds me a little bit of Grayson Rigdon, formerly at Strawn, now at Benjamin. But anytime he touches the ball, anytime he sees the ball on defense, like he's gonna make a play. You just know it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what you need in 6-man. You need that guy. And for Calvert, he is. I think that's a big he's a big reason why they are ranked 16th in our preseason rankings. And you know, they've got, in the region that they're in down there, they've got potential to make some good noise in that part of the state. You know, we talk about 6-man ball, and typically your mind goes to West Texas. It goes up to the Panhandle. It goes up to the Big Country. You know, all that. This is kind of there's not a whole lot of 6-man teams around that part of the world, and so they can make themselves known as they go to move up in, especially into the playoffs. But Kavandre Corona will be an impact player for Calvert.
Yes. And there you go. There's some players to watch in the Brazos Valley region. It's a good region. Lots of talent. It is, yeah. And you'll notice as we were going through there, it was kind of, this is a region full of bigger, stockier kids. You've got the running talent. You know, you kind of get into DFW, you kind of get into Houston, and a lot of the eyes start going, all right, what do the defensive backs look like? What do the wide receivers look like? A lot more air raid ball. This is a region full of hard-hitting, you know, just hard-nosed tough running football. So if you're into that kind of thing, the Brazos Valley is the place for you. Let's wrap it all up here with some storylines to follow. We're going to start off here with a tale as old as a time, and that's BCS versus ATX. And what I mean by that, let's take a look back at that literal district of doom down in this region in 11-5A Division 1. So you've heard of two of the teams in there. You have the number 7th ranked College Station Cougars, and then you have number 7 A&M Consolidated. They are district bunkmates, but for the first time in a long time, like Nicole mentioned earlier, a lot of teams in Bryan College Station really kind of stuck around that area. They did a really good job of keeping them kind of in that same region. Well, if you'll remember when we were talking to Thomas Jones and when we were breaking down Austin, he said the thing that he was really looking for was 11-5A, and that's because in that same district you have number 4 and number 7, then you have number 21 Cedar Park in the Austin area, you have Georgetown, another fantastic team, Pflugerville Hendrickson, Leander Glen, Georgetown Eastview, and Leander. So this is the first time in a long time in Texas high school football that we're seeing a College Station-esque, Austin-esque. You might start thinking a little bit of burnt orange and maroon there. I think it travels down into the high school ranks as well, that there's always kind of this, we don't really like each other. So I think that is going to be an unbelievably fun district for a lot of different reasons. You have 3 teams in the top 25 in the preseason, and then you just have the sheer enjoyment of watching folks from Austin and folks from the Bryan College Station area back at competition, and people eat that up. I think that if you're not planning on paying attention to 11-5A Division 1, now is absolutely the time to do it. All right, should we move on?
Up next, wire to wire in 2021. Can the Lions roar again? We're talking about the reigning 3A Division 2 state champions in the Franklin Lions, and they did it.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think you can kind of split this question up into good news and bad news, right? So you got your good news. You're going to have a lot of starters returning on both sides of the ball, which means you got a lot of depth at each position. Your bad news, you're going to have a tough district schedule. And by tough, I mean very tough. You're going to Lorena towards the end of the season.
The reigning 3A Division 1 state champs.
Yes. And then you're going to Little River Academy.
The Swole Bees.
The Swole Bees. So that's a good news, bad news kind of thing. It kind of just, now we're going to talk about which one outweighs the other.
And so when we say wire to wire in 2021, that's because Franklin came in our preseason rankings as the number 1 team in 3A Division 2 last year, and they finished that. So full wire to wire, number 1, never gave us a reason to doubt them. They were clearly the best team in 3A Division 2. When they move up, that was the talk around realignment. If you'll remember, this past February, every 2 years, the UIL throws everything in a bucket. We mix it all up. We pull out a new realignment. And we kind of knew that Franklin, with the numbers that they turned in on Snapshot Day, were very, very likely to make the cut up to 3A Division 1, but we did not expect them to end up in that same district with the 3A Division 1 reigning state champs in Lorena. So incredibly excited about that. That entire region is just a bludgeon in 3A Division 1. So it'll be very, very excited to see that. But Coach Mark Fannin and his squad, and with the return of Bryson Washington, have a very, very good chance to do that. We have them as our number 2 team. Ahead of them is Brock. So we'll get into that later on in the season, but very, very high hopes for Brock, but welcoming Franklin for to prove us wrong there. So excited to see what they have. Finally, let's talk about a team that we really haven't talked that much about. We've talked a lot about College Station, A&M Consolidated, Franklin. Let's talk a little bit about Burton.
And there's a reason why they may not be on somebody's radar.
Exactly.
Even though they are talented.
They're coming in as our number 5 ranked team in 2A Division 1. Now, Burton's back, and back is a funny term when it comes to Burton, because last year they had to forfeit 7 different games. So they made it to the regional final or regional semifinals?
It was regional finals.
Regional final. They made it to the regional final. Yeah, with like a 5-7 record.
Yeah.
And they won all of those games that they had to forfeit, but there was an issue with an ineligible player. And so, yeah, they had to forfeit 7 of their games. It obviously did not keep them out of the playoffs, and they definitely made a run after that. So we're not by any means saying that Burton is any sort of an underdog. Obviously, we have them ranked as number 5. But this is a team that I think that people need to recognize as a bona fide stud and a bona fide contender for that 2A Division 2 title, because just because you look at their record and you think, well, that's weird. Why is that team ranked so high? What could it possibly be? This is an unbelievable team, and they have 8 starters returning on both sides of the ball. They have an inexperienced offensive line, but the skill players are there. They have their quarterback coming back. They have all their wide receiver.
Offensive line a little bit, yeah.
Exactly. So they'll be able to get the ball out wide. If they can pair that with the offensive line being able to get some experience and then pair it with a running game, they'll be an unbelievably good program. And we have full respect for it. It's just so many people see that record and think, how did that happen? Like, they must have just gotten an easy path to the playoffs. You know, I was going to say, they were murdering people.
When we were going through the rankings, I was like, I bet there's some people that are like, Burton, why are they so high up there? They went 5-9, you know. But yeah, there's a reason for that.
So yeah, 5-9 last year with a pretty big asterisk by it, but a team that we have incredibly high hopes for. And so there you go, a little breakdown of the Brazos Valley, the 979, not 959, 979. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.